So this week we focused on the subject Power of Queer. Our group consisted of 3 members, myself, Emily Police, Marlene Parada, and Michaela Draper. On slide 2, we had our qualitative content questions. I'm going to just read through those. Number 1, what does the term doing gender mean? Number 2, what is the definition of heteronormativity? Number 3, define queering motherhood and give 3 examples. Number 4, what is homonormativity? Number 5, what are the challenges involved with same-sex marriages? Number 6, what are some differences between lesbian-headed and heterosexual-headed families? And number 7, what is gendered social position and why does it affect a single mother's life? On slide 3, we covered doing gender. This is essentially a performance of gender that we all put on and have learned over time. Since the beginning of time, we have seen boy versus girl and gender roles. And since gender is a social construct, this is something we learned through interactions. So we are basically putting on a performance for each other of gender. The next slide covered heteronormativity. This is basically an individual's sexual organs matching their gender, and the gender roles all align with each other. So a woman that has female sex organs and has the gender roles that society placed upon women aligning with female. Heteronormativity is significant because it set the tone for the nuclear family. A nuclear family is a heterosexual married couple with their biological children all living in the home. So the problem with this is that since the nuclear family is considered the norm, all of the policies and laws put in place are in favor of nuclear families. So LGBTQA plus communities and families often do not have the same rights as a nuclear family would have. Next, I covered the queering family and motherhood. Some examples of this are single motherhood, a mother as the primary breadwinner, or a mother in a transracial family. These are all examples of queering because they go outside of what is normal and dominant in our society, which is the mother stays home and cooks and cleans and takes care of the children while the father or the dad of the house usually just works. But in today's society, we're definitely steering away from all of this, the nuclear family and heteronormativity.
Homonormativity explains how certain aspects of the queer community can perpetuate assumption, values, and behaviors that hurt and marginalize many people within the community. This made same-sex marriage priority. Homonormativity strives to influence how we perceive about oneself and others by morphing the homosexual community into the heterosexual community, forcing us to appear and exist like them. Families with same-sex parents are always embroiled in debates with a variety of people and systems concerning biology, legitimacy, and the concept of motherhood and family. Same-sex families may be called to explain their family configuration to strangers. Not only does it end with the parents, but children are also faced with challenges such as having to explain themselves to peers and experience difficulties when they have to fill out forms that require signatures from mothers and fathers. Several studies find lesbian mothers have greater parental investment in child rearing and fewer parenting disagreements with their co-parent relative to heterosexual parents. One of the most notable differences is the lack of abuse among lesbian-headed families. In contrast, over 1/4 of children in heterosexual families report physical abuse and 8% report sexual abuse. Another difference is children of planned lesbian families have greater social and academic competence, fewer social problems, and a greater sense of connection to people at school relative to their counterparts with heterosexual parents. Next is gender social position. Gender social position is a social position generally assigned to one sex, which can have an unavoidable influence on a person's life. Single parenthood is a uniquely gender situation that consists of physical and economic constraints. Generally, single parenthood is women's work and is associated with hazards of poverty, legal troubles, and strained resources. The gender social position of a single mother affects individuals because there are gender differences in access to power and resources. This slide just shows the qualitative questions again. So, yeah. Here are the multiple choice questions that relate to the pre-questions. Here's the rest, 3 through 5 questions for the multiple choice quiz. And here are the last of the questions. Here's the activity that we thought would be a great activity to do. Would be a Flipgrid discussing the family you grew up with. Do you have a nuclear family? Is your family considered outside of the norm? Does your family follow society's gender roles, and how so? Briefly give us some background. And that is the end of this presentation.